Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are taking on a career that, it doesn't just span decades. It really defines the landscape of modern cinema and, just as importantly, theater.
It really does.
We are diving into the comprehensive sources detailing the life and work of Denzel Washington.
And it's a necessary deep dive, because when you look at the sheer weight of his contributions,
Yeah.
the commercial success, the critical acclaim, the mentorship, directing, it's unparalleled.
It is. The sources we have today trace a man whose influence goes so far beyond the screen.
Had to. And I think that legacy, that weight, it was kind of crystallized in 2020.
Right, with the New York Times.
Exactly. When they reviewed the new millennium, they didn't even hesitate. They called him the greatest actor of the 21st century so far.
Yeah, and that's really the foundation we're building on, isn't it? That single statement.
It is, and that designation itself, it invites immediate scrutiny. What qualities, what choices, what consistent level of excellence earns you that kind of title? Our mission today is to unpack precisely that, to trace that decades-long road that transformed Denzel Hayes Washington Jr. from, a young man facing a really difficult path in Mount Vernon, New York, into this monumental figure.
Yeah, and we're covering the whole 360 view. His foundational, lifelong work in theater, his record-breaking film career, which, the sources confirm, has grossed over $5.1 billion worldwide.
Which is just a staggering number.
It's unbelievable. And then his ventures into directing, producing, and the deep-seated faith and significant philanthropic commitments that truly ground the man behind all those roles.
And when you just look at the top-level accolades, the snapshot, it tells you everything you need to know about his ability to navigate both art and commerce.
You're talking about the Oscars?
We're talking 2 competitive Academy Awards, Best Supporting and Best Actor, 2 Golden Globes, 2 Silver Bears from the Berlin International Film Festival, and a Tony Award for his work on the stage.
And the lifetime honors just keep accumulating. It really underscores his status as a cultural giant, doesn't it?
It does. He received the Cecil B. DeMille Award in 2016, the AFI Life Achievement Award in 2019.
And the sources even note the extremely high-altitude recognition of the Honoré Palme d'Or in 2025.
And crucially, that recognition extends beyond the artistic sphere. It goes right into public service.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Yes. Officially conferred in 2025, an honor that had been delayed from 2022 because of COVID. Receiving the highest civilian honor in the country that confirms his life and impact are viewed as having national significance, not just cinematic.
It truly is an overwhelming portfolio. So let's step back and look at the foundation. How did a boy from Mount Vernon end up with an AFI Life Achievement Award? The road to the stage was, to put it mildly, unexpected.
Yeah, that road began on December 28, 1954, in Mount Vernon, New York. And his childhood was really defined by this strong set of dualities. His mother, Lennis Lynn Lowe, was a keen observer of people. She ran her own beauty parlor.
So she's hearing stories all day.
All day. That environment, the everyday narratives of community life, that surely provided him with an early, an unintentional education in human drama.
And his father, Denzel Hayes Washington Sr., he provided the other pole of influence.
Right. An ordained Pentecostal minister rooted in deep faith, but he also held down 2 secular jobs.
One at the New York City Water Department.
And another at a local S. Klein department store.
Yeah.
This blend of the sacred and the blue collar, the spiritual calling and the practical work ethic, it just seems absolutely foundational to who he is.
It really is the blueprint.
It is. And there's a small, fascinating detail from the sources regarding his name itself. In a 2025 appearance, Washington shared that the correct original pronunciation of Denzel is actually with the stress on the first syllable, so Denzel.
Now that is the kind of nugget our listeners come for, a deep dive moment of linguistic correction.
Right. But the reason for the common mispronunciation is purely personal. He explained that his mother consciously shifted the emphasis to the second syllable, to Denzel, so that when she called for him, Denzel Jr., he wouldn't confuse the call with her summoning his father, Denzel Sr.
That is amazing. It's such an intimate way to establish a dual identity right from the beginning, separating the son from the father while he's still bearing the name.
Precisely. That dual identity, however, it came to a head when he was just 14. And the sources highlight this as the definitive turning point in his life.
Yeah.
1968.
His parents divorced that year.
They did. And his mother made the crucial, life-altering decision to send him away to the Oakland Military Academy, a private preparatory school in New Windsor, New York.
And he's spoken about this decision with profound gravity.
He has. And that's where the narrative of stardom really meets the narrative of survival. He reflected directly on that time, saying, that decision changed my life because I wouldn't have survived in the direction I was going.
And he talked about his friends, right?
Yeah, his running buddies, as he called them. He said they've now done maybe 40 years combined in the penitentiary.
Wow. That is profoundly sobering.
It really is. It strongly suggests that without that military structure, the discipline, the relocation, the redirected focus, the world might never have known Denzel Washington, the actor.
The military academy was an act of intervention.
It saved his life and, by extension, gifted his talent to the world.
It really makes you wonder how many great artists were derailed by a lack of that kind of intervention. From there, his collegiate path, it kind of continued these exploratory detours.
It did. He attended Mainland High School in Florida, and the sources note he had a very specific, almost childlike goal for college at first.
He wanted to go to Texas Tech.
For one reason. Their mascot was the Red Raider, similar to his beloved boys club team back home.
Okay.
It was all about loyalty and nostalgia, not career ambition.
But fate intervened, and instead of the Red Raiders, he ended up at Fordham University.
Earning a BA in drama and journalism in 1977, which tells you he was already curious, yet dabbling in the analytical side with journalism while exploring performance with drama.
And he wasn't just in the library or the studio, he was an athlete.
A good one. He played collegiate basketball as a guard under coach P.J. Carlesimo. So you have this incredibly varied foundation, military discipline, journalistic curiosity, athletic focus, and this growing interest in drama.
But the aha moment, the moment of absolute conviction that acting was his path, it didn't happen in a formal class.
No, or even on the court. It happened during a period of professional pause. He took a semester off from Fordham, was working as the creative arts director at Camp Sloan YMCA in Connecticut,
And there was a talent show.
a staff talent show for the campers. A colleague saw him perform and was so struck by his presence, his natural talent, that she just came up to him and said he should try acting professionally. It was a moment of profound external validation.
And that external push was clearly the catalyst he needed.
Absolutely. He returned to Fordham, specifically to the Lincoln Center campus, to intensely study acting. And he didn't ease back in. He immediately tackled these colossal roles.
The title characters in Eugene O'Neill's The Emperor Jones and Shakespeare's Othello.
I mean, that commitment to heavyweight drama was evident from day one. And that exposure led him straight to graduate school at the American Conservatory Theater, ACT, in San Francisco.
One of the country's most respected training grounds.
For sure.
But he only stayed for 1 year, which is interesting. Why leave a prestigious program like that early?
Because he had enough. I think the training had done its job. The sources suggest he realized he didn't need the degree as much as he needed the work. He moved back to New York to launch his professional career immediately.
He prioritized the stage over more academic immersion.
Exactly. And that ambition, that self-reliance, it leads us directly into his rapid rise to prominence in the late 70s and 80s. He jumped right into summer stock theater, the old school proving ground for actors.
His very first documented theatrical appearance was in 1976.
In the Maryland State play Wings of the Morning. And what's unique about that role is that it was written specifically for him. It incorporated an African-American character, a narrator based loosely on the historical figure Matthias de Sousa.
A black indentured servant who became a wealthy merchant in colonial Maryland.
Yeah. So right from the jump, he was involved in roles that fused history, identity, and real dramatic weight.
And his screen career started almost immediately after that in 77.
With the made-for-TV film Wilma, a docudrama about the Olympic sprinter Wilma Rudolph. And of course, that was his personal turning point because that's where he met his future wife, Pauletta Pearson.
A truly high-stakes first gig then, professionally and personally.
For sure. His first proper Hollywood film, Carbon Copy, came in 1981, but he stayed tethered to the theater. This is so key to understanding his whole career.
He did. In 1981, he won an Obie Award.
For the Negro Ensemble Company's acclaimed production of Charles Fuller's A Soldier's Play.
Okay, let's pause on that, because the distinction between an Obie and a Tony is crucial here. An Obie recognizes artistic risk, excellence, often outside the commercial pressures of Broadway. Winning that so early on, it signals his commitment to serious, groundbreaking dramatic work, not just chasing mainstream roles.
And that commitment paid off, because soon after, he landed the role that gave him 6 years of consistent, nationwide visibility.
Dr. Philip Chandler in the NBC medical drama St. Elsewhere from 1982 to 1988.
Right. And for actors in the 1980s, Transitioning from a long-running TV series to a major film career was notoriously difficult. They got typecast.
So how did he manage that transition so smoothly?
By using the stability of television to strategically select demanding film roles that were radically different from his kindly doctor persona. He was one of the few African-American actors on St. Elsewhere for the entire run.
So he had that consistent platform, that financial security.
And used that security to choose complexity. He transitioned immediately to the film adaptation of his stage success, A Soldier's Story in 1984, then challenging roles in films like Hard Lessons and Power in '86.
These were gritty film-first roles.
But the global spotlight, that hit him hard in 1987 with Cry Freedom.
Directed by Richard Attenborough.
Yeah. He played Stephen Biko, the real-life South African anti-apartheid activist. This film was heavy, it was timely, and it was globally resonant.
And it earned him his first major Oscar recognition, a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was stepping into the shoes of historically significant figures, requiring intense gravitas, intense research. This was miles away from network TV.
And just 2 years later, he had his first Academy Award moment. For the 1989 Civil War drama Glory, he won Best Supporting Actor for his role as a defiant, self-possessed ex-slave soldier.
The power of that performance was just undeniable. Critics noted his ability to portray this deep internalized rage and self-respect in a narrative that was dominated by white characters.
That win cemented his status, not just as a talented actor, but as a major film star capable of commanding historical narratives.
And we see that commitment to diverse narratives early on. That same year, he starred in the less-known British film For Queen and Country.
In that, he played Reuben James, a conflicted, disillusioned former Falkland soldier struggling with racism and inner-city poverty, which leads him toward vigilantism.
That film choice confirms the pattern, doesn't it? He was always seeking out these complex characters wrestling with systemic issues, whether it was the American Civil War or the British inner city.
He wasn't just chasing the American blockbuster. That early strategic balance, securing the Oscar while consistently pursuing roles that explored nuance, that's what propelled him into the 1990s, the decade of true Hollywood stardom.
And yet the decade of stardom begins not in Hollywood, but back on the New York stage.
Exactly. In 1990, he took on Shakespeare's ultimate villain, the title role in The Tragedy of Richard III for the public theater. This just shows that deep-seated commitment to flexing his dramatic muscle, even as his film career was exploding.
Critics loved it. They called him an actor of range and intensity, who was expert at projecting a feeling of controlled rage.
And you can see it. That intensity we later saw in his cinematic villains was already being honed on the stage in classic tragedy.
And speaking of intensity, the box office was now calling, largely thanks to his initial critically defining phase of collaboration with director Spike Lee.
Their synergy was electric. It started with Mo Better Blues in 1990. Where he played the driven jazz musician Bleak Gilliam. But that was just the warm-up.
For the cinematic event of 1992, Malcolm X.
It's arguably the most essential role of his career. It earned him a Best Actor Oscar nomination and cemented his legacy as a biographical actor capable of transforming completely into a historical giant.
Let's elaborate on the critical weight of that. The sources highlight that the New York Times didn't just give it a critic's pick. Vincent Canby placed his performance in the most rarefied air,
saying Denzel Washington does for Malcolm X what Ben Kingsley did for Gandhi.
That comparison is staggering. It links Washington's performance to the absolute gold standard of cinematic biographical transformation.
They emphasized it wasn't just that he looked the part. He possessed the psychological heft, the intelligence, and the reserve to make the film dramatically exciting, to capture the character's evolution from street hustler to intellectual giant.
And the sources reveal that his preparation was legendary. He studied countless hours of footage, read every biography, spent time practicing the distinct dialect and physical mannerisms. It was a commitment to immersion that set a new standard.
And yet, in between these high-stakes biopics, he was constantly proving his range. We see the romantic drama Mississippi Masala in '91, where he explored an interracial romance opposite Sarita Chowdhury.
And this is where critics began talking about the Denzel charisma. They described him as an actor of immense and natural charm, which made him a compelling romantic lead.
Yeah, he could switch from the intellectual fury of Malcolm X to genuine, approachable romance just effortlessly.
Then came 1993 and the groundbreaking social issue film Philadelphia.
Dealing with the AIDS crisis. He played Joe Miller, the homophobic personal injury lawyer who reluctantly defends Tom Hanks's character, a gay man with AIDS.
What's fascinating here is the strategic decision behind his casting, which the sources detail.
Mm-hmm. Sight and Sound pointed out that securing Denzel Washington guaranteed the film access to the black audience that might otherwise have been disengaged from the story of a rich white gay man with AIDS.
This was a crucial political move. The sources note that AIDS was rampant in inner cities, affecting not just gay men but IV drug users and women, yet the mainstream narrative often excluded those communities.
So Washington's star power provided necessary visibility. It forced the audience to confront the intersection of race, class, and the epidemic.
It turned a specific narrative into a national conversation. That move was calculated, risky, and incredibly effective.
And the rest of the 90s established him as this consistent, bankable force in commercial thrillers. He became the definition of a reliable leading man.
We saw The Pelican Brief with Julia Roberts in '93, showing his chemistry with other massive stars, and then the start of a collaboration that defined his commercial identity, the partnership with director Tony Scott.
That began with Crimson Tide in 1995. That intense nuclear submarine drama opposite Gene Hackman. That first film was a massive success, signaling a partnership that would prove invaluable to his box office standing.
But he continued to weave in profound, dramatic performances like Courage Under Fire in '96.
Yeah, where he played a conflicted officer investigating a female chopper commander for the Medal of Honor. He was investigating the truth behind a wartime legend.
And critics recognized that performance immediately. Variety offered high praise, calling it probing, reserved, and sensitively drawn.
And they placed him firmly within the lineage of serious American dramatic actors by noting the role might have been played by the likes of a Montgomery Clift or William Holden in an earlier era.
That kind of praise, placing him in the tradition of classic, complex, sensitive leading men, it speaks volumes about his depth, even when working in a genre film.
And before the decade closed, he showed his breadth with the romantic comedy The Preacher's Wife, alongside Whitney Houston.
A gentle remake of The Bishop's Wife.
And the underrated supernatural horror film Fallen. He was just fearless in traversing genres.
But the century concluded with another performance for the ages, The Hurricane in 1999.
Playing the boxer Reuben Hurricane Carter, wrongly imprisoned for almost 2 decades, the acclaim was enormous.
And it resulted in a landmark win, the Golden Globe for Best Actor Motion Picture Drama.
And the significance of that win is critical. He was the first black actor to win that specific Golden Globes since Sidney Poitier in 1963.
It marked a return to the highest echelon of dramatic recognition. And he won the Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Festival.
Roger Ebert, one of his most consistent champions, immediately placed the performance in the Pantheon, writing it was on a par with his work in Malcolm X.
The sources underscore the incredible internal intensity he brought to that role. Critic Mick LaSalle praised him for taking the viewer into the mind of a man experiencing confinement, showing what it's like to deal with the torments of wild rage and impotence, despair, and hope.
Yeah, that ability to convey the slow burn of internal struggle that truly established him as a cornerstone actor entering the 21st century.
And that reputation for emotional complexity transitioned him perfectly into the 2000s, where he established himself as a certified icon and significantly began his journey behind the camera.
The decade began with commercial success, balancing that complexity with pure crowd pleasers. Remember The Titans in 2000?
Where he played high school football coach Herman Boone. It grossed over $100 million in the U.S. and proved his name alone could sell a major studio family drama.
In these athletic-themed roles, following He Got Game in '98, his third collaboration with Spike Lee, allowed him to explore mentor figures, father-son dynamics.
All within these high-pressure American institutional settings.
Exactly. But the true seismic shift, the moment where he broke his heroic mold, came with Training Day in 2001. Playing Detective Alonzo Harris, a corrupt, charismatic, yet terrifying L.A. cop.
This is the rare villainous turn, and it redefined his career. He wasn't the victim or the righteous hero or the historical figure. He was the monster.
And that performance led to his second Academy Award, this time for Best Actor.
The significance of that win truly cannot be overstated. He was only the second African-American actor to ever win the Best Actor category, again following Sidney Poitier.
And in a beautiful convergence, Poitier received an honorary Academy Award that very same night. It was this unofficial, yet deeply felt passing of the torch.
An incredible moment.
Critics devour the darkness. Ebert described the performance as being like a monster from a horror film, unkillable and implacable. Washington took his immense natural charisma and just inverted it, making Alonzo Harris one of the most frightening and seductive villains in recent film history.
And following that career high, he strategically leveraged his standing to immediately step into the director's chair. This is where we need to spend more time. What did the sources tell us about Denzel Washington, the director?
Well, his first venture was the critically praised drama An Uncle and Fisher in 2002. It's a film about a young, troubled Navy sailor forced to confront his past.
And Washington not only directed, but he also co-starred as the Navy psychiatrist who mentors Fisher.
And the critical response wasn't just polite, it was genuinely enthusiastic. Stephen Holden of the New York Times was effusive, praising his direction for showing a confident grasp of cinematic narrative in a hearty meat-and-potatoes style.
It's fascinating how his acting experience informed his directing philosophy. Holden noted that Washington's own performance in the film was so sensitively reactive that his performance seems more lived than acted.
He was clearly creating an environment where actors felt safe to inhabit roles deeply, favoring subtle internal reactions over broad dramatic gestures.
So he wasn't just checking off a box, he was proving himself a thoughtful filmmaker.
Absolutely. Committed to complex, redemptive narratives. He followed that up later by directing The Great Debaters in 2007, starring alongside Forrest Whitaker.
Meanwhile, his acting career doubled down on commercial reliability. He entered what we might call his thriller king phase.
He did. Between 2003 and 2006, he anchored a string of commercially successful, high-octane films.
We're talking about Tony Scott's Man on Fire,
where he played that grief-fueled protector archetype, a persona that became incredibly popular with audiences. He also starred in Inside Man with Spike Lee, Deja Vu, and the 2004 remake of The Manchurian Candidate.
The appeal of the thriller king phase is simple, isn't it? His presence guaranteed quality and intense focus, elevating standard genre fare.
His name on the marquee meant guaranteed dramatic intensity and box office success. This reliability is what makes him such a valuable star. His work with Tony Scott, which culminated in 5 films total, including The Taking of Pelham 123 in 2009, really solidified this market position.
But even with all this Hollywood clout, he maintained his spiritual connection to the stage. In 2005, he returned to Broadway to play Brutus in the revival of Julius Caesar.
And this is a perfect example of that dynamic tension between the celebrated artist and the Hollywood star. The sources note the production received mixed critical reviews.
Right. One critique mentioned that despite his inescapable fame, he sometimes got lost amid the wandering, mismatched crowd.
So his presence didn't necessarily guarantee artistic success in that specific classical setting.
Not always. But here's the crucial flip side. The Run was a consistent sellout.
His stardom, even if it didn't fully translate to a specific critical performance in that production, was enough to make classical theater a massive commercial draw for an audience that might never have seen Shakespeare otherwise.
He was bringing new eyes to the classics. That star power continued to anchor major dramatic films, like Ridley Scott's American Gangster in 2007.
Co-starring Russell Crowe, which earned him yet another Golden Globe nomination, and he wrapped the decade reinforcing his action credentials with The Book of Eli and Unstoppable in 2010, his final collaboration with Tony Scott.
That seamless transition brings us into the last decade plus. The August Wilson and action era is defining his work from 2010 to the present. If the 90s were about Malcolm X, the 2010s were defined by August Wilson.
This deep connection to August Wilson's template Pittsburgh cycle is, without question, the most artistically defining aspect of his later career. It is his soul food.
In 2010, he returned to Broadway to play Troy Maxon in the revival of Fences,
opposite Viola Davis, and the contrast with the mixed Julius Caesar reviews was stark. This time, he won the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play, Broadway's highest honor.
Critics were overwhelmingly positive, praising his fluid naturalness.
It was a perfect marriage of actor and material. But he wasn't done with Wilson. In 2016, he brought Fences to the screen, directing and starring in the film adaptation. It was critically praised for its joyful ferocity.
And that adaptation had a massive industry impact, most notably securing Viola Davis her first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress.
So his commitment to these productions wasn't just for himself. He was creating platforms for world-class, critically important work.
And while immersing himself in Wilson's dramatic works, he simultaneously launched his late-career action star status, transitioning to franchise work.
The Equalizer trilogy, directed by Antoine Fuqua, spanning 2014 to 2023. And this is a massive strategic shift, because the sources specify this marks his first film sequels.
For an actor who spent 30 years avoiding franchises, this pivot is telling.
It shows he found a character, Robert McCall, the highly moral, retired black ops operative, that aligned with his personal sense of justice, and allowed him to maintain a massive commercial footprint without compromising his integrity.
But he never stopped challenging himself dramatically. Flight in 2012, for example, garnered him yet another Best Actor Oscar nomination.
For his raw, complex portrayal of an alcoholic airline pilot who saves a plane but faces moral judgment, a truly multi-layered performance. And then there was Roman J. Israel Esquire in 2017.
That role earned him high praise for inhabiting a truly complicated and tricky character, the highly specific, socially awkward defense attorney, and it resulted in his 9th overall Oscar nomination.
6 for Best Actor, 3 for Supporting. That sustained level of excellence across 5 decades is the definition of a titan.
In 2016, he also tackled a genre he had largely ignored, the Western, with the Magnificent Seven remake. This leads us back to that interesting personal anecdote about his conservative upbringing.
Right. Since his minister father forbade cinema, favoring biblical epics, Washington admitted he didn't grow up watching many Westerns. He'd only catch portions of TV shows like Rawhide and Bonanza.
That cultural foundation against conventional Hollywood forms makes his ultimate success in the very heart of that industry so remarkable.
He didn't have the standard cinematic frame of reference, yet he became the frame of reference. He even mentioned he prepared for the Magnificent Seven not by watching the original 1960 film, but by watching the film it was based on, Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai.
Which speaks to his intellectual approach to acting. He's always going to the source.
Always. His late career stage work continued its deep dives. In 2018, he returned to Eugene O'Neill, playing Theodore Hickman in The Iceman Cometh.
And the reviews were analytical, noting the production was most exciting in the moments when his irrepressible charm faltered, showing something uglier and more ravaged underneath.
He continues to search for the darkness beneath the surface, and he followed that up with universal acclaim and another Oscar nomination for the title role in Joel Coen's stylized adaptation of Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth in 2021.
He brings gravitas to every single line.
And this journey brought him full circle in 2025 with his return to Othello on Broadway, a role he played in college. This revival, opposite Jake Gyllenhaal as Iago, has, however, received mixed critical reception.
What were the sources saying about the mixed response? It's rare for a Washington performance to be anything less than highly praised.
Well, critics acknowledged his immense Hollywood magnetism and swaggering authority, but some lamented a lack of the driving force behind his performance, suggesting that maybe the sheer weight of Denzel Washington, the icon, occasionally overshadowed the character's internal tragedy.
That tension, icon versus character, is always present when a star of his magnitude tackles classical work.
It is. Yet the sources confirm his influence is strategically multi-generational, particularly through his dedication to August Wilson. He's not just starring in and directing Wilson's work. He has become a key producer, ensuring the legacy continues.
He produced Ma Rainey's Black Bottom in 2020, and in 2024 he produced the Netflix adaptation of The Piano Lesson.
And this production connects directly to his family legacy. The Piano Lesson was directed by his son, Malcolm Washington, and starred his other son, John David Washington. This is not just artistic commitment, it's a familial legacy being cemented in American theater.
And the sources also provide an astonishing look into his immediate future, which is packed. He is showing no sign of slowing down.
Not at all. He's reuniting with Spike Lee for a 5th time in Highest to Lowest, a remake of Kurosawa's High and Low, and he's starring in Ridley Scott's massive historical epic, Gladiator II.
And even amid the giant spectacle of Gladiator II, the sources describe his performance as scene-stealing and the standout aspect of the film.
That's competitive praise among giants. It suggests his command of the screen remains absolute.
And then, the announcement that shocked the pop culture landscape, he publicly announced in November 2024 that he would be starring in Black Panther 3.
Joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This move signals a willingness to engage with the very biggest global franchises, even late in his career. It shows a strategic understanding of modern media.
We must also address the most controversial casting choice detailed in the sources. His role as the Carthaginian general Hannibal in an upcoming Netflix film.
Yeah, this casting has caused controversy in Tunisia, where Hannibal is a foundational national figure. The debate stems from historical and cultural identity concerns regarding the casting choice for the ancient general.
It highlights that every decision he makes now is viewed through a global lens of history, culture, and representation.
Yeah, underscoring the immense scrutiny that comes with being a global icon.
So we've traced the professional arc, but now we must transition to the critical anchor for his entire career, his faith, his family, and his massive philanthropic influence.
And the way he involves his children in his work provides a seamless bridge. His marriage to Pauletta Pearson, whom he met on the set of Wilma and married in 1983, is a testament to stability. They renewed their vows in South Africa in 1995, officiated by Desmond Tutu.
That detail links his most intimate moments with global figures of moral authority.
And his 4 children are carrying forward the legacy. John David, the actor and former football player, Katia, who earned a BA from Yale, and the twins, Malcolm, who directed The Piano Lesson, and Olivia, an actress who appeared in The Butler.
It is a family committed to the arts, but the deepest thread running through his non-career life is his faith. He's an active Pentecostal evangelical Christian.
And this faith wasn't just a quiet background detail. It was a competing vocational call. He stated back in 1999, at the height of his fame, "A part of me still says, maybe, Denzel, you're supposed to preach. Maybe you're still compromising."
I've had an opportunity to play great men and, through their words, to preach. I take what talent I've been given seriously, and I want to use it for good.
And the sources show that sense of calling has now been formally realized. A significant recent development is that he was baptized and received his ministry license from the Kelly Temple Church of God in Christ on December 21st, 2024. He also confirms he reads the Bible daily.
That is a massive commitment, formalizing his faith journey into a licensed role. It shifts the entire context of his public work.
And his financial commitment has been equally steadfast, donating US $2.5 million in 1995 to help build the West Angeles Church of God in Christ facility in LA.
This deep faith clearly drives his extensive activism and service, particularly his focus on guiding youth and supporting military families.
His dedication to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America is remarkable. He's been the national spokesman since 1993 and a board member since 1995.
Yeah.
That's over 3 decades of dedicated service.
For the organization's 100th anniversary, he collaborated on the book, A Hand to Guide Me. It collected stories about mentorship from figures like Presidents Carter and Clinton, Colin Powell, Muhammad Ali.
The book's core message reflects his own trajectory. If you want to change the world, start by changing the life of a child.
His military support is equally profound. In 2004, he visited the Brooke Army Medical Center, personally presenting Purple Hearts to soldiers wounded in Iraq.
And critically, that visit led to a sustained commitment. Upon visiting the Fisher House facilities at the fort, which provide free homes for military families receiving medical care, he learned they had exceeded their capacity. He responded with a substantial donation.
This dedication earned him a truly unique honor. In 2021, the U.S. Army made him the Honorary Sergeant Major of the Army for his humility, dedication, and respect for the Army.
We also see his global and educational generosity. $1 million to Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund in '95, and another $1 million to Wiley College to resuscitate its debate team.
His influence is so widely recognized that even antagonistic groups respected his stature. In 2006, the FARC in Colombia named Washington, along with Oliver Stone and Michael Moore, as one of 3 people with whom they would negotiate for the release of hostages.
Although the effort was unsuccessful, the fact that a global terrorist group viewed him as a trusted, impartial figure, it speaks volumes about his moral credibility.
And that influence extends most dramatically to his peers. He's become the godfather of acting for an entire generation of performers.
The list is extraordinary. Chadwick Boseman, Mahershala Ali, Michael B. Jordan, Will Smith, Jake Gyllenhaal, Austin Butler. Butler openly called him the godfather of acting.
He also never fails to credit his own inspirations. He cited James Earl Jones, saying, "He is who I wanted to be."
And of course, the enduring connection to Sidney Poitier, whom he called a mentor, needless to say, an example, a friend. This direct lineage provides a clear historical context for his achievements.
That deep well of influence and achievement brings us to summarizing the scope of his recognition and the enduring meaning of his legacy.
The sources confirm the 9 Academy Award nominations, 6 for Best Actor, 3 for Best Supporting, with the wins for Glory and Training Day. This consistency is virtually unheard of.
And his recognition is sustained. He is a 13-time NAACP Image Award winner, including a remarkable 4 consecutive wins for Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture across 2 different stretches.
He's also accumulated honorary degrees, reinforcing his connection to education. Fordham, Morehouse College, the University of Pennsylvania.
And finally, those major lifetime honors confirm his absolute peak status. The Cecil B. DeMille Award, the AFI Life Achievement Award, the Honorary Palme d'Or, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
But the ultimate key to understanding his choices, his endurance, it lies in his own self-identification. He has repeatedly stated, "I consider myself a stage actor and not a Hollywood star."
And that explains everything. He views the stage as his professional core, the place where he returns to sharpen his instrument.
That deep connection explains the recurring August Wilson plays, the Shakespearean roles, and his continual pursuit of dramatic integrity over pure commercial gain, even when he could have just settled into being the most lucrative action star on the planet.
His career is a strategic masterpiece, balancing the commercial necessity of the thriller king with the artistic passion of the Troy Maxon.
It's a textbook example of using massive fame as a tool to pursue deeper, more challenging artistic endeavors.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we are left with a massive question mark regarding his future. We have this icon still taking on major film roles, Marvel, Gladiator II, but who has just formally received his ministry license.
And this is the perfect point to leave you, the listener, with a provocative thought. Given Denzel Washington's parallel existence as a globally celebrated artist and now a newly licensed Pentecostal minister, what does this new chapter mean for the stories he will choose to tell?
He speculated 2 decades ago about compromising his true path, wondering if he was supposed to preach. Now that the license is official, is his extraordinary transformative acting talent now explicitly a tool for his faith?
Will his next directorial choices move away from the darkness of characters like Alonzo Harris and exclusively toward redemptive, explicitly moral narratives? Or will he, as a seasoned storyteller, continue to see complex, even villainous characters as essential tools for moral examination?
It raises profound questions about the intersection of artistic vocation and formal faith that few contemporary figures have ever faced. Which Denzel Washington do you find most impactful? The Oscar-winning actor, the celebrated director, the passionate mentor, or the newly licensed minister?
We encourage you to reflect on his incredible body of work and consider how his enduring dedication to both the stage and his faith have shaped his truly unparalleled legacy. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.